ginger, baby, and scary. Those are just some of the Spice Girls that were popular in the 90s. But in the last decade, another Spice Girl has taken America by storm. Pumpkin spice. Did you know that pumpkin spice actually does not have any pumpkin in it? It's the spice that you use to season the pumpkin. Today, I'm going to show you how to turn this little portly vegetable into a powder that you can take with you on the go. Use it to instantly add flavor to soups, smoothies, and desserts. And if you ever need to disappear into the woods for a prolonged period of time, you can throw this into your bug out bag and it will keep for at least a year, maybe even longer. All right, let's get started. So we're gonna start by cutting our pumpkins in half. And you don't have to use pumpkins, you can use squashes, gourds, and I've even done this with other fruits. Okay. I really need to focus. Pumpkins are incredibly difficult to cut. Now that we have our pumpkins cut in half, we're going to scoop out all the seeds, and we do want to save those. Roasted pumpkin seeds make a nutritious and high protein snack for when you're hiding out in your bunker. Look at all that condensation on the edge. Pumpkins are mostly water, and by making this pumpkin powder recipe, you're actually going to concentrate that delicious pumpkin flavor. And you do want to get as much of this gut residue as you can. This is a Seminole pumpkin, a Florida native. We've harvested over 100 pounds of pumpkins this year. There are two main types of pumpkins that come out during this time of the year, and those are eaten pumpkins and carving pumpkins. Now, carving pumpkins you can eat, however, their flavor might be lacking due to the high water content. So for this, I highly recommend sugar pie pumpkins, butternut squash. Ooh. Okay, another thing, you want to make sure that your squashes or any pumpkins that you choose are not rotting like this one. Now that we have our pumpkins all cleaned out, you're going to grab a roasting pan. If you don't want to use an oven, you most certainly can take the scooped out pumpkins, dehydrate them, and then puree them. However, I do like roasting them for two main reasons. One of them is that it evaporates a lot of the water and makes the dehydrating process go a lot faster. And number two is that roasting the pumpkin creates a nice caramelized pumpkin crust that complements that rich pumpkin flavor. Now I'm just going to take my pumpkins and put them on top of the baking sheet, face up or face down. I like face up because it helps evaporate some of the water, and you don't need to use any oil or tin foil. And now these are ready to go in the oven for 35 to 45 minutes at 375 degrees Fahrenheit. So the easiest way to separate your pumpkin seeds from the guts is to soak them in water, and the pumpkin seeds will naturally rise to the top. And after you dry your pumpkin seeds, you can cover them with a little bit of olive oil, salt, pepper, maybe lemon, lime, cayenne, garlic seasoning, and give them a quick roast for about 15 minutes at 350. Another way that you can use this pumpkin powder is by adding it to pet food. Pumpkin is really good for the digestion of cats and dogs. Let's see if they like it. Vasya, what do you think? I think he likes it. Now, while I wait for my pumpkin to finish roasting, I gotta wash my hands. It's really hard to get this pumpkin off my hands, but my hands are super dry and it's not fully coming off. Why did the pumpkin make my hands dry? Handling pumpkins might cause some people to develop a contact dermatitis reaction. You have squash hands. I have squash hands? I have squash hands. Here we have our roasted pumpkins. This is the following day, and you do want to wait until your pumpkins are fully cooled off before trying to work with them. And the thing about pumpkin skins is that they are edible. However, because they are so fibrous, some people might have a difficult time digesting them, if you know what I mean. Comes right off. Look at that. And now we're just going to puree this. You can mash them with a fork, or I'm going to use a blender because that's easier. And look at this beautiful puree. Now, if you're using canned pumpkin, you can just skip ahead to this step. I'm using these silicone fruit leather sheets. They're designed for a dehydrator. You just want to spread your pumpkin into a layer that's about the same level as your trays. Just keep in mind, the thicker it is, the longer it's going to take to dehydrate. That looks good. Moving on to the next one. And if you have any pieces that are still not fully pureed, that's okay, as long as they are not too thick, because we are going to blend this again after it's dry. And you want to dehydrate these for about 18 to 24 hours at 140 degrees. And you know you're ready for the next step when your squash sheets are dry and crispy. So now that we have our dehydrated pumpkin, we're going to turn that into powder. And for this, you might not want to use your nice blender because the plastic might get scratched up. So I'm using this old magic bullet. So you always want to do a little crack test. You want it to be fully dry. It looks like this is. And we're just going to put everything into a blender. Might need a couple tries. And now I'm just going to sift the powder through. You might also want to add a little silica packet because we do live in Florida, and that's going to help with the clumping and the humidity. I'm going to sift everything through just to avoid any clumps. As you can see, there are some pieces that did not make it through. If you wanted to, you could premix this with pumpkin spices, but since I like to use it in savory and sweet dishes, I just like to keep the pumpkin powder unflavored. Concentrated pumpkin flavor right here. My favorite way to use it is in a pumpkin spice latte, of course. And this is what 3 pumpkins, 3 days of work, and 6 months of growing looks like condensed all into 1.5 pint jars. All right, guys, thanks for watching. I've been spending a lot of time here at Forever Food Forest preserving our harvest, and I'm planning to do a series of videos showing just how I do that around here. So if you want to be notified when that video drops, make sure that you're subscribed. If you want to see some more recipes, you can find them at foreverfoodforest.com. You can go there, sign up for my newsletter, and check out my interactive garden guide. All right, guys, I'll see you in the next one.